Let me guess, you think financial freedom is a lucky break or a massive inheritance. But honestly, it's just a math problem that most of us were never taught to solve. But here's the problem. Without a specific year-by-year system, you're just saving money and hoping for the best. And hope is not a strategy. So let's fix that. In this video, I'm going to show you a real 5-year path from financial stress to financial control. First, we'll build a survival moat in year 1 that kills financial anxiety for good. Second, I'll show you the specific math to transition from working for money to money working for you by year 3. And third, by year 5, we'll build the exit strategy that makes work feel optional, not permanent. It's not magic, it's just discipline. Let's get to work. Look, the first year isn't about getting rich, it's about not being a victim. Most people start their financial journey by looking for the next big thing. They want the 10 times return or the secret crypto play. But here is the reality. You can't build a fortress on a swamp. Year 1 is about aggressive stabilization. It's about building what I call the survival moat. The goal is simple, save $5,000. That might sound small, but for most people, that's more than they've ever had in a liquid account. That $5,000 is your shield. It's the difference between a flat tire being a bad day and it being a financial crisis. How do you get there? You have to stop the bleeding. We've talked about the lifestyle creep trap before, driving a $90,000 truck to an office job just to feel powerful at red lights. That's a financial prison with nice upholstery. In year 1, you sell the ego. You cut the 3-digit cable bill. You cancel the 5 subscriptions you don't use. It's not about being cheap. It's about being disciplined. Every dollar you claw back from these traps goes straight into the moat. By the end of month 12, you should be able to sleep 8 hours a night because you aren't one paycheck away from disaster. Once the moat is built, we focus on the engine. In year 2, we need to widen the gap between what you earn and what you spend. Most people think the only way to do this is to work more hours. They become the person who skips lunch and stays late every night. But honestly, being too good at your job can be a trap. If you become the person who is quietly competent at every small task, you become expensive to move. Your manager won't promote you because replacing you is too painful. Don't just work harder, work more precisely. Use year 2 to negotiate a 15% raise based on the actual value you bring, or start a low-drag side income. The math here is simple. Let's say you find an extra $100 a week through a raise or a side project. That's $5,200 a year. When you add that to the discipline you built in year 1, you aren't just saving, you're accumulating. This is the year you move from surviving to investing. You take that first $10,000 and put it into a simple index fund. It's not flashy, it's not a hack, it's just the beginning of the math working in your favor. By year 3, the game starts to feel different. The first 2 years were all on you. You cut expenses, you built discipline. You widened the gap between what you earn and what you keep. None of that felt dramatic, it felt slow. And that is exactly why most people quit too early. They want financial progress to feel exciting. One big win, one big investment, one moment that changes everything. That's not usually how it works. Year 3 is where the system starts proving itself. Not because you're rich, not because you can quit your job, but because your money is no longer sitting there doing nothing. It starts carrying part of the load. That shift matters more than people think. Up to this point, every bit of progress came from your discipline, your restraint, your extra effort. Now the assets you built start giving something back. The numbers still won't look flashy. That is where people lose patience. They check the account, see progress but not freedom. So they get distracted and reset the whole plan. That is a mistake. Your goal in year 3 is simple. Keep investing consistently and get to the point where your portfolio can cover around 15 to 20% of your basic living costs. Not your dream life, your basic life. You are not free yet, but you are no longer carrying the full weight alone. And that is the tipping point. Year 4 is where a lot of people lose the plot. Not because they failed, because they finally started winning. The moat is built, the income gap is wider, the portfolio is growing, and for the first time, life starts to feel easier. That is exactly when the trap shows up. You start thinking you have earned the upgrade, a better car, a nicer apartment, more convenience, more rewards for all the discipline it took to get here. And on the surface, that sounds reasonable. But this is where a lot of people quietly reset the clock, because every lifestyle upgrade raises the number your assets now have to cover. The finish line moves, freedom gets more expensive. And the same person who made real progress in the first 3 years ends up trapped for another 5. That is why year 4 is not about going faster. It is about staying sharp. Your job here is simple. Keep your core lifestyle close to where it was when you started building. Let income grow, let investments grow. But do not let your standard of living expand every time your cash flow does. This is where the machine gets stronger. The gap becomes bigger. The surplus becomes more serious, and that surplus gives you options, not just comfort. Year 4 is where discipline stops being defensive and starts becoming strategic. You are not just avoiding mistakes anymore. You are protecting the life you are trying to buy back. Year 5 is where you stop asking, how much money do I need? And start asking a better question, how much life am I trying to buy back? That is the real shift. Most people imagine financial freedom as some giant number, 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, just a mountain of money big enough to make all problems disappear. But freedom is not about looking rich. It is about lowering the amount of income you need, increasing the amount of income your assets can produce, and closing the distance between the two. That is the job in year 5. You calculate your freedom number based on your basic monthly lifestyle, not your fantasy lifestyle. If your core life costs $3,500 a month, that is the number that matters, not the version of you with the luxury car and the oversized house. Then you build the final layer, the bridge fund. This is not investment money. This is stability money, around 12 to 24 months of basic expenses in liquid cash or high-yield savings. Why does this matter? Because even if your portfolio is strong, you do not want one bad market year to force you back into panic mode. The bridge fund gives you room to breathe. It protects your decisions from fear. By year 5, you may not be done forever, but you should be close enough that work stops feeling like survival. And once that happens, your job is no longer your lifeline. It is just one more option. 5 years will pass either way. That part is not optional. The real question is what those 5 years will build. Most people spend them upgrading their lifestyle every time income goes up. A better car, a better apartment, more convenience, more ways to look successful while staying just as dependent as before. That path feels good in the moment, but it usually ends the same way. More income, more pressure, more things to maintain, and less control over your time. The disciplined path looks boring by comparison. In year 1, you build the moat, so one bad month stops feeling like a crisis. In year 2, you widen the gap between what you earn and what you keep. In year 3, the system starts carrying part of the load. In year 4, you protect your progress by refusing to move the finish line. And in year 5, you build the final layer that turns progress into actual leverage. That is the difference. You are not chasing the image of wealth. You are building a structure that reduces fear, increases options, and slowly buys back your time. That is what most people miss. Freedom is not one dramatic moment. It is a stack of smart decisions made long enough for the math to matter. And the people who win this game usually do not look flashy. They just look calm. So here is the real point. Financial freedom is not about getting lucky. It is about getting deliberate. You do not need to solve your whole life this month. You just need to start the first layer. Build the moat. Widen the gap. Stay in the game long enough for the system to start helping you back. That is how the escape plan begins. So now I want to ask you one question. What is your year 1 move? Is it building the first $5,000, cutting the lifestyle creep, creating your first real investing gap? Drop it in the comments. And if you want more videos like this, subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.